So very briefly, I am Joshua Williams. If you interact with me at all on any kind of regular basis, it's probably going to be on Twitter at 802.me. And this presentation is called App Creation for the Rest of Us, but I'll explain a little bit more about what that means as we go on. A few months ago, I realized I had three big problems. I was in the middle of a fairly large AP deployment at a K-12 customer in Oklahoma, and due to some circumstances beyond our control, what was supposed to be about a 3 to 4 month deployment ran into a 16 to 18 month deployment. A lot of building construction issues and that sort of thing that caused us to go on-site, off-site, and back and forth again numerous times. And my AP installers were having a hard time keeping track of where they'd been, what rooms they'd been in, what they'd accomplished. And on top of the normal issues that we have sometimes in documenting a large project accurately, getting the information that we need not only for our own purposes for configuration, but also for documenting all that back to the customer. And realize that there's sometimes, despite all the marketing hype, there's not always an app for that. So I went out looking for something that was easy to use, because the guys that are up and down on ladders all day long, it's not really conducive to their success to be using a laptop and an Excel spreadsheet and a scan gun to try to gather all this information accurately. There is an app. I'll leave the producer of that app anonymous from this presentation, because it fails about 60% of the time when I try to launch it, crashes and loses all your data. I realized I needed something that gathered the data that I need during installs. The problem I had, the two other problems I had to go along with that, are that my coding and development skills are, almost non-existent in some ways. It's a priority for me, but I didn't have both either the time in the project or in my day to really sink my teeth deep into some of these development skills and building those out like I needed to get to the solution. So quick caveat, I really believe that application development, coding skills are super important to what we're doing with our careers. It's never been more important as a Wi-Fi professional. It's something I've dedicated myself to as well. I recommend that if you're not paying attention to these people and what they're doing from a development standpoint, a coding standpoint, that you do so. Follow them on Twitter, watch their presentations over and over again, because it's really important. What I'm doing with this is to give you a little bit of encouragement that in a pinch like this, there are some tools and resources available to us that we can use to get us out of a bind, and maybe even create something that's pretty useful that we can build on long term. Anytime that we get into a professional decision point, I think we have to pick from the triad of cheap, fast, and good. And we all know that this doesn't exist. So what I realized was I needed a solution that sat somewhere right in here. I had a little bit of budget to work with, a couple $1,000s to maybe buy some licensing and work with something, but I needed something I could get to production fairly quickly and that I could count on, that was going to be reliable in the field. So the attributes of what I needed really for the project, I needed something that was scalable. I needed to go from a tool that would gather information on an AP install job, across a dozen campuses and a few hundred APs to multiple jobs, multiple customers, thousands of APs and that sort of thing. So I needed to grow with me. I need to be easy to enhance, because I knew as I went along, I would learn a lot about and want to enhance what I was doing with the app. And try to create something and add features to that, if you will, as we go along. In addition to that, I need something mobility ready. As I mentioned, laptops and Excel spreadsheets aren't real compatible with ladders where we're hanging APs. I need something we could pull out of a pocket and gather information very quickly and stick back in a pocket and not worry about losing information or reading illegible handwriting and that sort of thing as we move through a protracted project. In addition, I need something that was obviously database driven. That's kind of a no-brainer, but I didn't want something that was flat file based. I need something that would scale with us and be easy be indexable and easy to search and that sort of thing going forward as well. And again, something fairly quick to production because I didn't have a lot of time to come up with a solution to this. What I came up with was something that was kind of right under my nose the entire time, and it worked out actually fairly well and fairly elegantly. FileMaker Pro, of all things. If you're familiar with it or familiar with Microsoft Access, has been around for a long time. They're really similar. FileMaker Pro is cross-platform, but it's in version 16 now. And they not only have the traditional desktop development platform for databases, but you can actually, they have a runtime app called FileMaker Go for iOS that works really well for situations like this because it takes advantage of some of the things that you can do in iOS with a camera, like barcode scanning, and interpretation, also the security aspects of fingerprint ID and that sort of thing to keep all this information secure and safe. So I'm going to jump real quick into a demo of what we created, and did this actually over the course of about 18 hours in one weekend. This is how quick we got to production with this. So you can launch the FileMaker Go app right from your phone. This file exists in our server, on a FileMaker server in Oklahoma City. I'm running it live in production right now. Excuse me, sorry. Of course, demo fail always. Here we go. This is live in production over an LTE connection because I'm not trusting the Wi-Fi right now. Yeah. I'm going to click the little add button here and just walk through how simple it is. I wanted our users to be able to have to enter as little manual information as possible. So one of the few pieces of information I'm going to ask them to manually enter is the AP model number. Let's call this an AP 325. And yeah. Do I have anything with a barcode on it up here? I forgot to bring an AP. The bottom line is I can click on this little app right here and scan anything with a barcode. That scans regular barcodes as well as QR codes. So any kind of label that's generated either by the customer or by a manufacturer, I can scan directly in. Do that with a serial number, a MAC address. I can choose my manufacturers from a drop-down list, obviously, and any notes. I'm going to automate things like in-service date. So really basic functionality up to this point. If I click the install button now, I'm just going to ask him one more time to enter manually what room number that is. Call it room 203. I'm going to gather the MDF and IDF information. So we're going to call that, say those wires go back to the MDF, rack 1, patch panel 2, ports 13 and 14, or 7. Yeah. There we go. And just choose which campus this is for that customer, okay? So now at this point, I have all the information I need to send back to a configuration engineer in the office, whether that's a dozen miles away or hundreds of miles away. And to do that, if I want to do that on the fly, I click the little email icon. It sends all that information pre-formatted, everything that engineer needs to configure and deploy that AP in the controller instantly. I can also run reports out of that and generate reports from PDF and send those via email as well if I need to. Added a feature, a couple other features as well. By the way, I can take a picture of the installed AP if the customer requires that. And if I click on the Validate AP button, I have a deprecated feature in here where we were gathering information out of an air check after we installed it. RSSI, signal noise ratio. It's really kind of silly because you're standing in the room, typically right under the AP. But what I did instead is linked the AP name to LinkLive. So that any previous results from LinkLive that apply to that AP show up in LinkLive right here in a portal window. And I have 3 seconds left. I appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks.